it's a very conventional question, like if you could redo one thing or if you could give advice to the younger version of you.
Hold on, let me scratch that one out.
Sorry, Tom, scratch that one. Well, this is
there goes question 7. I know I've seen you socially since then, but I was looking at, do you know what the last time you were on cue was? It was during the pandemic.
Oh, that's right. From my coffee shop.
Yeah, from the Quitters coffee shop.
Yes.
Can you give people listening to this an update, I guess, as to where you are now?
Well, I quit Quitters.
Yeah.
And I sold it in March of 2022, and it went to a new coffee chain in Ottawa. And I just knew I couldn't do both. And surviving the pandemic as a food business, hospitality, I was so exhausted. And I had a really bad dream one night at the end of 2021, a terrible dream where I was like not myself and I was an awful person. And I woke up and I told my husband about it and he was like, I think it's a sign it might be time. And I realized I just didn't want to be the coffee shop owner that someone's like, oh, is that the owner of the coffee shop? And the other person goes like aside, she used to be nice. So I was like, it's time. I was turning into a demon woman.
Like the coffee shop made you turn into a bit of a demon woman?
I felt that internally. It was a lot of pressure to keep a business that was never going to recover from the lockdowns. And I just thought, why would I continue to do this and knowing I would never recover, like we would never recover from the debt. So
you went back on the road.
So yeah, I went into my other very, very successful cash-heavy business, which is music.
Touring music in 2025.
Yeah, I'm just loaded.
I think you made a beautiful record, by the way. Congratulations on it.
Thanks.
I was reading that you said something like it's an album of hard truths.
Yes, I feel that way, but good ones. I think, one of the hard truths about getting older is that you just are prepared to kind of draw clearer lines about things that you are willing and unwilling to have in your life.
So this is an album about sort of taking stock and looking at your own life and saying, okay, well, can you give me do you feel comfortable giving me an example of like a hard truth you're writing about on this record?
Well, like the one I just mentioned, where you have to confront the fact that a business you put 8 years of your heart and soul and money into has failed.
Right.
And selling it. One of the stories I've relayed to people about, because they've asked me, do you miss the coffee shop? I miss it tremendously. I miss the people. And really the great gift of the coffee shop was that I got to have such an incredibly eye-opening, life-enriching experience with people. Because I wasn't a musician anymore and my interactions with strangers was not based on the fact that they had come to see me perform or that I was on some pedestal as a musician.
Yeah.
I was just a person who ran a small business and they might have walked in the door. And many of those people became regulars and it was really wonderful to have a life where a community of people with many broad perspectives and many different sort of day-to-day realities become part of your social circle. And I found that really helpful for also escaping this kind of little bubble that I had lived in for a lot of my adult life, which was that I was a touring musician and I wrote songs.
I think what I'm leaning towards is I want to know how changes in you led to changes in your songs. I'm interested in sort of how changes in ourselves lead to this music. And I can't My version of that would be I hear maybe a spiciness there too, like a self-assuredness in these songs. I want to know all these sort of realizations you've had about yourself, whether it's about you as an artist or as a small business owner or just as a person, might have led to some changes in the songs you were writing.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. It's a hard. Honestly, it's an intimidating question, if I'm being honest, because I think I'm not great at knowing how I've changed unless the music that I'm writing speaks on my behalf. But the ways that I've changed, I'm in my late 40s now. Mm-hmm. I have crossed the threshold of 45, and I am looking down the hallway at 50. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel that way. I feel still like I just put out my second record. I feel still 30, and I have so much to learn, and the world fascinates me. But I guess the older I get, the less the more interested I am in the ways in which I can be open-minded, and the less interested I am in also, as the paradox, I'm also prepared to say, this is me unapologetically.
See, I find this interesting because you, to me, have always been such an unapologetic songwriter. Like a very, like I feel like in your lyrics, I felt like you've always been a little bit unapologetic, or a little bit, I don't want to say like brash, because that's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't find another word. Like open, or, I feel like I've more than other Canadian songwriters, maybe especially, I feel like I've understood it a little bit more.
I think that was armor. I mean, I look back at the version of me that put out my first record, Failure, and I was on the David Letterman show the day that record came out. Like, that's a huge amount of pressure and exposure for somebody who really hadn't done more than just notionally make a record and tour Canada a few times. And I didn't know what to wear, so they hired somebody to help me with an outfit. Like,
it was great, by the way. Like, that performance was great.
Thanks.
And like, it's very rare for people to bring it when they have to bring it. That was a 6 o'clock news performance, right?
Yeah.
It's excellent. I watched it like not that long ago.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, just on my own.
And so to be in those environments when I was younger, I didn't have time to think about whether or not I was doing them well or not. And then I got to a point where I had made Voyager, and that was almost 10 years later. It was 2012. I put out my 4th record, and I was actually quite fractured as a person. I was not well. I was quite depressed. I remember being here at CBC the week that record came out, and I felt like my whole body was a scab, and I was just waiting for someone to pick at it. And I was like, kept in armor about me. And now I feel a lot more comfortable about my vulnerability, and also how important it is to me that my work has meant something to somebody at a moment in time. And that could be a song or an album. There's part of me that's much more confident and accepting in the fact that I've actually done something. I've made a body of work that has endured. And I'm so incredibly proud. And I think about my younger self, and people sometimes, it's a very conventional question, like if you could redo one thing, or if you could give advice to the younger version of you.
Hold on, let me scratch that one out.
Sorry, Tom, scratch that one. Well, this is
there goes question 7, I tell you. But hold on, you were saying it was armor when you were sort of a puckish,
Yeah, sure. Because I wanted to fit in with, the people that I wanted to feel like I was part of this music scene. And in my mind, it wasn't like to be a sort of gentle feminine. It was like to be tough and be a rock and roll chick. Like I embodied that genuinely, because those were my heroes. But I think I felt like I had to really, keep up with the boys.
And now?
And now I fucking show them the way, man. I am their leader. Bring me your children. I feel, well, I'm the only one in my band who can back up the trailer that's attached to my truck. So I feel pretty confident knowing that I'm equipped to deal with life's difficult touring realities.
Now it's not armor. You're sort of embodying that person. That you are that person. You are that unapologetic person.
Yes.
You were sort of arming yourself to be, while being sort of a scab waiting to be picked.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it was like, do I deserve to be here?
Yeah.
And now I feel very strongly that I earned my place here.
You are also at a point where you have a body of work that is like admired by people. So I think last time you were on, we were talking about Maren Morris, the great American singer-songwriter, being a big Kathleen Edwards fan and talking about it all the time and working with you. Casey Musgraves has talked about being a Kathleen Edwards fan. And then you have Jason Isbell, like widely regarded as one of the great kind of modern songwriters of our time, is a big Kathleen Edwards fan and ends up co-producing this record. Pretty good.
I'm humbled by that. We'll see if it's, thank you. Maybe, I guess if they are, that's wonderful. I don't have close relationships with any of those people.
Jason produced the record, though.
Yes, of course, sorry. And the fact that he held out this baton and said, I'll take it. Like, come with me. I'll produce your record. I cried the day that the email came in from his manager, because we had notionally sort of messaged back and forth that he said yes. And then I was like, well, is he really saying yes? And then his manager emailed me and said, let's book this. I was like, tears, because, you need opportunities there's a lot of luck in the opportunities to have exposure as a musician or as an artist. There's good work, but there's also luck. And it was just such good luck that he extended that baton. And he played all over the record. He co-produced it with Gina. I still am completely speechless about it, because he's untouchable. He is, like you said, he is considered one of the quintessential modern songwriters of today. And I am humbled that he felt that him championing me was an opportunity I deserved.
Well, best thing about working with him? What does he most bring to a recording session?
Well, he had, I would say, quite a limited schedule. And because he's extremely busy.
Yeah, he's on the road a lot. And
he works a ton, and he's everyone wants a piece of him. And one of the things that I was not accustomed to was making a record in a very short period of time, like limited time during the day. And obviously, when you're in the studio, you're making the most of the time you have. And I'm a tinkerer. I like to go and listen to things and take time. And he was quite clear that, we are in the studio, we work on this music, and then we come back and we finish things and chip chop. This guy performed the majority of his parts, as did most of the band, live off the floor in one pass. And I don't mean just like we just did the song once and then we had it. We ran the songs a few times, but his playing was so impeccable. And what I learned was that I had probably done a lot of overthinking in the past, and that the sort of realness of being in the moment and just, surrounding yourself with great players and playing the song is enough.
Yeah.
And I was insecure about that being true, and he taught me that it was true.
We have an example of one of those songs. Can you play the song, if you don't mind?
It's been years since I thought about falling in love and falling out. 2004 in a little pink door, you were wrapping me up, I wanted so much more. I'll see you later in a thought for sure, but you were wrapping me up at the little pink door.
From her latest album, Billionaire, that's Kathleen Edwards and Little Pink Door. Beautiful song.
Thank you.
What, Live Off the Floor?
Yeah, that one, crazy enough, I'd written it so quickly one afternoon, and I just put it on my voice memo on my phone. And then when it came time to record it, I just got so I was so in love with this precious sort of voice memo version, like they call it, chasing the demo.
Yeah,
like
demoitis, yeah.
And that I really struggled to capture a pass by myself. And so Gina suggested that Jason and Jen Gunderman on keyboards would just play it live. And that was one pass, that's all live off the floor.
It's about sort of trusting yourself, trusting that you don't need more than that, trusting that you don't need a lot of tinkering, trusting that you don't need to do it a million times, that you're kind of enough and your songs are kind of enough.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the irony is that I'm sitting here feeling like the one lesson that Gina and Jason taught me was your work is great and you're overthinking it. And at the same time, as a person, I really feel like I, in other ways, also have come into myself more than as people who commonly say that as they get older. And it's a funny thing, I know where it comes from. It comes from me pretty aware of what success in the music business looks like, and having peers and former, loved ones, I just mean people I've been in relationships with, be very successful in music.
Yeah.
And that feeling like it has eluded me. And yet I realized, especially with that time I took off, how actually I've done an incredible thing. And very few people get to, I have 6 records out, and I tour with my band, and we play to a couple hundred people a night. Would it be great if that was 1,000 people a night? Yeah, but only because it means that you're not worrying so much about how much the gas costs put in your vehicle, and you can put everybody up at a nicer hotel.
I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't know you felt a little lesser than.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being super honest, I had a conversation with Jason Isbell I haven't talked about this actually, in the studio, where we were debating 2 different versions of one song. And in my mind, the version of the song should be the one that feels good and is rocking and the tempo's up. In part because that's how I had written it and that's how I envisioned it. And when we recorded it, we did a sort of slower, more melodic, I guess, version of the song. Both of them sound great. And, he pressed me about why I was so convinced that a sort of more upbeat version was required. And the answer is because I need to have a single. And most people who have breakthroughs in the music world have a song. They have a song that opens doors for them. And I've never had that. I have a body of work I'm so proud of. And yes, I played 6 o'clock news on David Letterman the day my record came out.
And people have told me that they've gotten through breakups because of Chameleon Comedian, and people have told me they've left their partners because of asking for flowers, and I mean, the music has had. And I'm not trying to diminish your feelings, but inside there's not that big. There hasn't been that My Church, that big,
Correct.
Yeah,
I haven't had that, and that's okay because what you just described is so, I actually cry about it, is so meaningful that a song that I wrote, would have precipitated somebody to make a change in their life, and the song was sort of the soundtrack to that moment. That is the biggest compliment a person could pay me, truly.
So you said to Jason, I need a single.
Yeah, and I that was a hard conversation, to be honest, because I think when you're on the other side of struggling to be heard and to broaden your opportunities and have a bigger audience, those things are in front of you. And look, I don't think I've ever compromised any of my authenticity or anything that I feel is how I want to sound to that endeavor. But yeah, if you think about all the big stars in the world or big musicians in the world they've had a song,
What did he say?
I think he wanted to instill in me that my work is good enough without trying to pander. And I don't feel that I don't feel that trying to accomplish one is pandering.
Can we play another song on the record?
Boy grows up in the suit. Mom and Dad sure loved you. Hockey kid weekends at the rink. You love the Leafs even though they stink. And you're driving your little Red Ranger all over LA.
Kathleen Edwards and Little Red Ranger. I love that song. What's it about?
Oh man, I love that song too. And there is no greater joy than singing the lines, "The Leafs still suck at playoff time."
Hey, I'm a Habs fan. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that.
I know, I'm excited about that.
The song is about a person who's been in my band for quite a few years, Ryan Gavel, a lovely bass player who grew up here in Ontario and spent hockey. He was a hockey kid, and him and my drummer Pete, when we tour together during the playoff seasons and the Leafs are still in, it's a tense time for them. That's their team, and they grew up that being their team, and they're both avid, recreational hockey players. And I have always had this romantic, because I didn't grow up as a hockey kid, this notion that it's such a tether through the sort of the young lives of kids in Canada, is going to the rink and playing hockey and being there at 6 a.m. and your poor parents suffering through. But it's also about fresh starts and about, sometimes, chapters of your life new chapters of your life are underway, and you didn't even realize that was happening until you're looking back and waving goodbye.
You described this new album, Billionaire, as looking through the rearview mirror on my way to something new. Now that you're sort of reconciling with these older versions of yourselves that you were talking about, a couple of times through this interview, are you able to look back on younger versions of Kathleen with affection, or do you sort of cringe?
I don't cringe at all. Maybe I did in the past. I don't now. I have an incredible amount of pride in the person that I have been over my life, because of course I'm imperfect and I didn't get everything right. And I had a very low period in my adult life that I came through in clinical depression, and I quit music.
Yeah. You really did. It was a story and a fun story that you started a coffee shop called Quitters and quit music, and isn't that funny? But you did really quit.
Yeah. And all of those difficult chapters and all of the challenges of choosing this life have been also immensely rewarding, because I remember the day that the week or two that I started feeling well after being diagnosed with clinical depression and coming through it and being medicated and suddenly feeling that huge weight lift. And I thought to myself, this is why I got depressed, was so that I could feel this way again and have the tools to handle things in a new way going forward. And to also tell people how they might actually get to the other side of something really painful. Like it felt like I had been shown a secret hallway that now I have the tools to endure challenging things ahead.
I think you made a really beautiful record. I think you really made a really honest record. I think you made a record of a kind of a personal reckoning that I really loved. Even right off the very beginning of the record, to be about I can't remember the lyrics exactly, but to be about prioritizing one's soul over money and prioritizing one's soul over career. And I can really hear that tension and that battle and all that work you've been doing in these songs. And I think it's really a great record.
Thanks. Well, I also think it's a time in my life where I am choosing to I'm choosing to not be self-deprecating anymore, and I'm choosing to be proud of my ambition and to feel good that my work has brought meaning to other people, and to also feel like I, as maybe somebody who gets on stage or somebody who is today on CBC radio, if someone's hearing it, that having purpose and working hard is incredibly fulfilling, even when you get it wrong. And if somebody feels that success is buying a Ferrari, good for you. If somebody feels like moving to Florida is something you want to do, good for you. If you want to go and, abandon all your worldly possessions and live out of a backpack for the rest of your life, good for you. I think what I came through with the pandemic particularly, I was so sure of myself and who I was as a person and how I felt that I had treated people. And when I realized that there was part of my sort of things that I felt that weren't being done in a way that was consistent with my values, I thought, if I were honest, I would be canceled. And now I feel very strongly that that the person I was and the person I am is still the same person. I just feel much more comfortable in owning my faults, and also looking forward to treating people. I should be looking in the mirror before I have anything to say about how other people are living their lives.
This is a very true Kathleen Edwards record. And I'm really glad you came in and talked. And thanks for opening up, and thanks for talking.
Thanks, Tom.
Nice to see you.
All my secrets have been revealed.